Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and I wanted to bring you a piece of advice that was given to me by a good friend recently when it comes to preparing for a collapse type scenario. And that piece of advice was to learn a specialized skill, but one skill in particular became apparently useful and necessary, and I think it's something that you should definitely consider learning, and that's small engine repair. Now, this might be one of the more important skills you can learn for preparedness purposes that isn't revolving around the idea of survival in the sense of, wilderness survival or trying to live off of nothing and having no type of supply chain or anything like that, but in regards to maintaining your property or maintaining your ability to operate with the machinery that you currently have when the supply chain falls apart and all of your resources are no longer available to keep things well maintained and well repaired. Now, maintaining items is relatively easy, right? We change the oil, we ensure the fluids are topped off and flushed properly at the right intervals and all those things. But repairing it's a different story. Now, this is something that I had never really done before because I am a kid from the suburbs, so I didn't have the need to ensure my equipment was working properly, and if we did have anything break or go wrong, there was a guy for that, right? But I'm trying to be more self-reliant, and I thought, this field trimmer right here hasn't run in 2 years. And I really do need to learn some more skills, and small engine repair makes a lot of sense to me because of how many things rely on small engines and how well that skill could apply to supporting your community during a full-blown collapse type situation. So I started working on this thing, and honestly, it was a lot easier than you would have expected. So I wanted to share this experience with everybody to give you something to really consider. I think this is a great skill to learn that's very achievable because if someone like me can do it by just reading some basic owner's manuals and watching some YouTube videos, then just about anyone else should be able to do this as well. But you're going to have a leg up compared to everyone else out there who never takes the time to even try it, right? So what did I have to do to get this thing up and running? Because it just wasn't working at all, and I definitely need it to keep the field at bay when it comes to certain areas of my property where it's a little bit harder to get a riding mower or a tractor there. And of course, still working on getting a tractor, and things have, let's just say, taken an interesting turn this year when it comes to resources. So if you know anyone at a tractor company, let me know. But regardless, this was actually much easier than I anticipated. So first, I made sure that we were good to go in one of the easiest departments, and that was the spark plug, because that's something that can go bad over time and is generally a culprit of things not being able to start, right? And so I went ahead and replaced the spark plug. It cost me $5 at my local hardware store, and it was very easy. I have a spark plug socket already, which is something you would need because they're specific to spark plugs, whereas usually the sockets or the wrenches you have on hand aren't going to work for that. So I had one of those already, which was 5/8 inch, so it worked perfectly. Pulled out the spark plug, inserted a new one, still wasn't working, right? So then I made sure that the gas and everything was fully drained out just to ensure there wasn't any leftover residues or bad gas or anything. Because like I said, this thing has been sitting for like 2 years. So that was all taken out and ensured that it was fully flushed. And then I put new gas in it and then still nothing, okay? So what did I do next? Well, the next thing was to check the carburetor because it's one of the biggest culprits for these small engines not working properly because they get very dirty as well, especially when you have old gas and sedatives and everything else. Sedatives? Whatever. Sediments. We're not trying to go to sleep unless you are, and maybe you're like a P. Diddy. I don't know. But regardless, this thing needed to be cleaned out. So the carburetor is behind the air filter, pulled that out, took the carburetor out, inspected it, realized it was relatively dirty. And so what I did is maybe not the most conventional thing, but I dropped it in an ultrasonic cleaner and got it really clean. And then I let it fully dry. And then I reinstalled it, ensured the gas was topped off with nice fresh fuel. And now this thing runs. So it was super easy, but if I never tried to do it or I never learned how any of those components worked in the sense of trying to get this thing up and running, then it would just be dead in my garage still and completely useless. And I could have done this a lot sooner, but I didn't necessarily need it. At least I didn't think so at the time, so I kind of put it off for a long time. But in reality, not only does this work now and I can use it again, but I also learned a lot when it comes to small engine repair. And it's really a lot simpler than it might seem at face value. And of course, this riding mower behind me is actually in the process of being repaired as well because the drive belts decided to, well, partially disintegrate. So that had the transmission slipping, which means that I need to check to see what's going on with that. And I realized the drive belt was falling apart. So I had to uninstall the deck and then get to the belts and then realize that the main drive belt is behind some interesting components because engineers hate us and they don't want us to have good lives. So that's still on its way out because I don't want to cut it because I want to see how it comes out fully so I can reinstall it properly as well. But regardless, that's in process, and now I'm a lot more confident about being able to do that also. So listen, this might seem super basic. This might just seem like dad advice or something. Like, no, don't, don't do that. It's not like that. Okay, so this might just seem like stuff someone would tell you that makes sense, right? Or that's something you might already know. But I guarantee you that there's a large majority of people watching this video right now who have never once taken a broken piece of lawn equipment and restored it to working again on their own. And so I think this is a really good skill and a really important thing for you to consider learning and trying to do. And it would give you a few things. One, it would let you keep your equipment up and running throughout a long-term scenario, especially if you were to stock up on parts now, knowing what it is that's most likely to go wrong, right? So, spark plugs, maybe a spare carburetor, stuff like that, air filters, of course, and fluids, obviously. And then also it would help you have a skill that's actually something you could barter or something that's actually worth something. In fact, there's someone here locally where I live that has a classified ad for small engine repair, and they're sitting there, helping people out and making some money in the process. And I'm like, man, that's not a bad gig, especially if you can get some business with it. I mean, if someone can make money off of it now while things are good, that means somebody will be able to barter that skill in a collapse situation as well. So just wanted to bring this to your attention. Is this video super exciting or about the end of the world or anything? Like, I guess not really. But I don't care. This is what we're doing and this is what I'm doing. And I'm just sharing it with you all to try to give you some motivation and inspiration. And at the same time, remind you that these really basic things aren't necessarily something that are inherently known by every single person who's ever been born, right? But at the same time, they're achievable and necessary for a long-term emergency. So that's where we're at. And if you want to support the channel, which would be greatly appreciated, make sure you go to magicprepper.com. There's a lot of stuff there. There's affiliate links with discount codes and all types of things there. So I would definitely check that out if you're willing to help me out. If you have things you need to order, I don't know, things of the brass and lead category that can generally help, make you feel better about everything. Like, it makes me feel better about everything. I have a couple of companies I work with right there on my sponsors and affiliates page where if you use that link, it'll actually support the channel while you're getting some more brass and lead. So that would be greatly appreciated. And at the same time, I just want to say thank you for watching these videos in general. And if you just hit the subscribe button or the like button, that also helps a lot, more than you might think. And hopefully I can just share some more super basic stuff with you guys as this process goes through. And then, I don't know, one day we'll have a tractor, but not now. So yes, I do have a tractor, but it is old and dilapidated. And it was supposed to be a restoration project where I learned more about engine repair and things of that nature. But unfortunately, like I said, things have changed and the resources that were supposed to be allocated for that project no longer exist. So we're trying to figure out other ways to get back into the swing of things. And that's why I could use your help. So, like I said, you need something else from me, magicprepper.com. You need to contact me. There's also a contact form there, so that's always nice as well. And one more thing, I'll just go ahead and start this up so you can see that it actually works and I'm not just talking out of my ass. You have no idea how good that sounded the first time.